up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here from Marty Music, hanging out in Nashville with the legendary Leroy Parnell, country and blues artist. It was a thrill for me to hear you jam.
Oh, gosh, thanks, man.
When did you start playing guitar?
I started when I was about 12 years old. My father played, not professionally. He and Bob Wills were lifelong friends. So we were around the Wills family a lot. So I was surrounded by the music of the Western swing, and that's where the blues got into my head. Bob was so influenced by the blues. I mean, every time we went over to his house, he was either listening to Bessie Smith or Emmett Miller. If you haven't dug into Emmett Miller yet, he's the missing link.
Well, hopefully people watching too will dig in as well.
Emmett Miller, dig into it. The Minstrel Man from Georgia, there's one album. Louis Armstrong's on it. Jack Teagarden's on it. The Dorsey Boys were on it. Eddie Lang, an amazing talent. He really influenced me. All the guitar players in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Anson Thunderberg, Jimmy Vaughn, Stevie Vaughn. There were a plethora of great guitar players that came out of Dallas-Fort Worth. Stevie and I shared a Monday night gig at the Rome Inn, and we would flip who was opening and who was closing. I actually have a tape of he and I playing together, and he played my Les Paul, and I was playing his Strat. You know, he played a half step flat, and he had 14s, I think, on the bottom, and with a long scale guitar, and so it was a challenge.
Jeez. Which Les Paul is this?
When I started working with Gibson, they did a campaign called Rediscover Gold. I bought a 56 gold top, and I'm a 56 model, so, and that was the only guitar I owned until I was 31 years old. Oh, it has a sound, and it's all over my records. I mean, since
this
that
particular
time, this
guitar.
one, yeah. The tension on the strings is about the same on E or A, so it can work in either tuning. I don't use these pickups in my signature. 57 reissue is what it is.
Do you like the fatter baseball necks?
I do. I end up having to support the fingering with my thumb pressed to the back of the neck, which creates a cramp in here.
Yeah.
I find, and that particular neck on that Fender, that was a V-neck, which is my favorite.
Oh, okay.
Because that, if you look at that, that's what that is. That's
right.
a V.
I noticed the Eric Clapton signature Martin has a very sharp V-neck. I don't know if that's how he likes all his guitars, but
the Triple Aughts 28 is that guitar. I have one back there, and it's that was the first good acoustic guitar I could afford to buy. Bought it in Sacramento. One of the selling points to me was that V-neck.
okay.
I love that V-neck.
When you play slide, do you use like an open tuning? Or?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I learned how to play slide, there were no instructional videos. There was, I mean, I grew up on a ranch in West Texas, so there was nothing but a lot of cattle and an occasional TV signal from Fort Worth, but not very often. It had to be just right as far as the cloud cover was concerned. But 17 miles to the nearest beer store, because we lived in a dry county. We were driving over. It was 17 miles over there and 35 miles back. I don't know how that happens.
Beer must have something to do with it.
Well, it did, yeah, and the police too, the highway patrol. We could get all the way back to the ranch on dirt roads, on farm market dirt roads, and you'd only have to cross a little farm market highway once in a while. But so that's, I think, where the 35 miles came in. But we never got caught. My friend had a '65 Chevrolet station wagon. And he took a cutting torch and he cut a hole out in the floor of the back seat and put a floor mat over that. So whenever we'd get stopped, we'd put the booze down on the ground, and the cop would come to to the side of the truck or the car and go, "You boys got any beer in here?" And no, sir, we don't. And we weren't lying.
You're not
we
lying.
didn't have it. And he said, "I know you guys got beer." And he'd come in there and take a look, and he said, "I saw y'all leave that beer store back there, and you paid that college student to go in and pay and buy your beer for you, you know." And I probably didn't have more than a 6-pack with us, you know, but we just set it down, and he'd get frustrated and said, "Well, I guess I got to let y'all go." And then he'd get back in his car, and we'd pull that back, pull the beer back up, and take off. That's where I heard Dwayne Allman on an 8-track tape live at the Fillmore East. I heard the sound. It sounded like a woman's voice, you know?
Right.
And it was the most expressive sound I'd ever heard. And I said, "What is he doing, man?" I mean, he's not playing guitar the way we've been playing guitar. They said, "Well, you know, it's slide guitar." I went, "Okay." So I went about the business of trying to learn how to play like Dwayne. And you had the turntable, and you'd pull back the stylus, and then you'd play a little bit, and then you'd put it back, and play a little bit, and put it back. And I could never get the harmonics.
Yeah.
That he was getting, and I couldn't figure out for the life of me. Well, he's playing with open tunings. It was like turning on a faucet. And it just kind of...
How much muting are you doing with your fingers? None. Not at all.
I used to think that.
Yeah.
Later on, I just kind of caught myself doing the muting.
It's all the right hand,
over here. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you use your thumb and index mostly when you're doing it?
I use all three, everything but my little finger. I don't use it. And my thumb. So there's like a claw action. So you've got this... Somebody pointed out to me, I did not realize this because I've never played a banjo, but they said, "Well, that's a banjo technique." Now I'm just playing these 2 strings here on the bottom, and I'm muting this G string here. And then I'm muting the 3 under that. I find that if you have a pick, you're totally isolated from your instrument. And the human touch is lost. So the skin, even though I do have nails, it's just acrylic. Some people use like fake nails, but the acrylic feels more natural to me.
Gotcha.
But I still use the skin.
Yeah.
And it just depends, like if you're... I like to feel the fingerprint. And then if you want to get more percussive, of course you have back to the skin.
Now, I noticed your action's pretty low on that for slide, because I'm a very novice slide player, and I had to raise my action to be able to to do it right. But I know that, you know, really experienced players can do it with low action.
This is an interesting instrument over here. Mike McGuire, Mike was a dear friend of mine who was the chief luthier at Gibson for many, many years. And he came from California. He said, "I'm going to try something for you. There's a guitar that we used to make at Valley Arts." And we were talking about the weight issue with the Les Pauls. And he said, "Let me try something." So he made, now feel that.
Very light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Way lighter than that.
6.9. And it's not chambered. It's not hollowed out.
Okay. So how does that happen?
It's not mahogany either.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's a wood. It's an African wood. I believe it's an African wood called Polonia.
So this was not a Les Paul that anyone could go buy. This was made just special.
This is one of a kind. This is one of a kind. But if
one.
If anybody ever played it or heard it, I mean, Robin Ford just loves this guitar. I mean, he said, man, that's the one. You know,
right.
We toured together last year. We did 30 dates together last year, and it was a gas, man.
Awesome.
Just, you know, me and Joe Robinson, he's the next guitar hero.
Okay. All right.
Joe's a lovely person, a wonderful guy. He actually will be playing with me this weekend, but he's an Australian, and he plays in a similar way that Tommy Emmanuel plays.
Oh, gotcha.
And so he's about 3 guitar players in one, all at the same time.
Okay, I hate him already.
Man, you will. You will until you meet him, and then you love him. The reason we have American music is because it developed in this triangle. And there's actually an Americana Southern music triangle now. And it runs from New Orleans to Memphis to Nashville, and that encompasses, of course, Tupelo, and it encompasses Clarksdale, and it encompasses Muscle Shoals. And if you look, a map of the United States, and you look to see where did our music come from? Because it all came from the blues. Country music came from the blues. Jazz came from the blues. Rock and roll came from the blues. You know, it's like Muddy Waters said, the blues had a baby and they called it rock and roll. That's where it came from. And without it, I mean, what would we be listening to? Oompa music? I don't know, you know, it just, you know, I mean, nothing against you Oompa folks out there. Nice folks. I've met some of you. But I'm just saying, you know, what originated and what is thought of worldwide as American music is usually rock and roll or blues or country or jazz.
Right.
This is an LOO. It's in 1937. Lived this whole life in New Orleans, and that's where I found it. I found it it's actually a record store. It was on a Saturday afternoon.
How long ago?
Late 90s.
Okay.
And I kind of determined that it probably had been in possession somebody in a Dixieland band because of these marks on the guitar there. As you can tell, it's just like, you know, somebody... scratching all there. It had to bend, you know. Somebody was trying to chunk some rhythm on it, you know. Don't ever call a Texas Playboy country, he'll beat the hell out of you because they were jazz players.
Gotcha. And this is the guitar you write on, and
there's no pickup or anything in it. It's simply for right here at the house. I keep it close by. It's got a V-neck, which is, we were talking about, it's just so comfortable for me to play. A small body tends to have more projection. I mean, this is a good finger picking guitar too. But it allows you to get that punch that you need. So it sort of lends itself to that, but it'll strum too. Like on the new album, Rob McNally, who played the rhythm guitar on Sunny Days, man, this guitar was, I mean, we tried 2 or 3 others that he had in his arsenal over there, and he said, let me try that LOO. And man, engineers and everybody, we all were like, that's it. That's the one we got to use. Sunny days and stormy days. Up to now, that's what my life has been. And broken hearts and brand new stars. But I'm thankful that I lived to see it all.
So this is the Leroy Parnell signature
Yeah.
Les Paul, yeah?
We worked on this guitar.
How did that come to be? What
Well,
happened?
you know, I've been working with Gibson for a long time, and we actually did a 336 kind of bowling ball black, and that's a really nice guitar too. But Les Paul is my kind of go-to. Or,
Oh, yeah.
but you know, Ron just nailed it. We worked on these pickups. I say we did. He worked on it. I was just listening.
How do you describe what you want in a pickup?
Well, with a guy like him, he understands the lingo, you know, being
Okay.
a guitar player himself. I just said I really want a clear bell-like tone, almost single coil, a little thicker in the bridge pickup. But we wound these pickups, you know, they're two basically a humbucker. It's just two single coils with reverse polarity. One turned this way, one turned this way. If they're the same, then you kind of get a muted,
Muffled?
70s sounding pickups that they were doing. I mean, they weren't putting a lot of time and effort
Yeah.
into it. These are not kicking out much at all.
Yeah.
This one's kicking out about 6.2, and this one's like 5.8. This side of the pickup is dominant, whereas this side is just there for the hum resistance.
Okay.
That's really all it's there for.
Are they replicating those pickups for your signature?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All the guitars that were shipped had these pickups in them.
Did you ever think you'd have your own signature guitar?
No, I did not. Back then, they didn't do that very often. I don't even think B.B. King didn't even have his own signature guitar.
What's your go-to like gigging amp?
I tell you what, you know, I've gone from there's an old 70s 50-watt Marshall head. I used those for a long, long time because a Fender Bassman was my favorite amp ever, period.
Is that mostly what Stevie Ray Vaughan used?
No, I mean, when I knew Stevie, he was playing through Supers.
Okay.
He had two Supers.
But
and Jimmy
Bassman's
too.
was your go-to.
Yeah, and the Super was really the 60s, when they brought the 60s in, that kind of took where the Bassman
Okay.
kind of was, you know, four tens and somewhere around 40 watts. But it's scooped. The mids are scooped on it. And the mids on the 59 Bassman are just perfect. I don't know what happened, but Leo got it right.
Well, once again, Leroy, thank you so much
Oh, yeah,
for
you're
letting us
welcome.
in here, taking the time. I really enjoyed listening to you play, and the stories were fantastic.
Thanks.
I'll remember this forever. So it was a real honor.
Thank you,
Thank
Marty.
you.
Thank you very much.
Also, you have a brand new album out.
I do.
So I want to encourage people to check it out. It's actually, I'm holding it. It's a physical copy here.
Literally out in your hand. Right
Yeah,
there.
so Midnight Believer. And once again, you guys, thank you so much for supporting Marty Music, subscribing, leaving comments. We're going to leave links for the legendary Leroy Parnell's site and links. Check it out. And we'll see you guys again real soon.